Aaron's mad we're wasting time. White noise. 3, 2, 1. Josh.
Josh.
What's up, bro?
How are you?
Oh, man.
Good to be here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is the Way to Farm podcast, and you are not Ben.
I'm not Ben. No. Last time I checked.
I'm confident.
Yeah.
So, Schneider, we refer to Schneider as Schneider, and me as many different names other than Schneider.
Yeah, I could think of a couple.
It really varies depending on other people's approval or disapproval of my actions. Anyway, we wanted to do a podcast on, so Schneider is relatively new to the agricultural space.
Very.
But
yeah.
you have been thrust into it.
Yes.
Rather willingly.
I enjoy it.
It's like a happy
seeking it
being
out.
pushed out of an airplane with a parachute.
Big time. Yeah.
But no one told you where the cord's at.
No. Figuring it out. I'm in
right.
the glide position. Thank God I'm kind of big and catching a lot of air.
Bug eyed,
Like,
looking really
okay.
excited. Woo! Anyway, and we want to do a podcast on Schneider more represents I don't know, the end user of food.
Yeah.
Meat. I mean, just food. All the recipients of raised agricultural products.
Yeah.
The end user. You represent the end user.
That's what interests me in becoming a part of it, is from the food system perspective, right? And just trying to gain more interest in that and get more educated in that. And what better way to be educated than something than being paid while you learn? So why not, right?
Let's go.
Yeah, it works out. You know, I just try to apply skills from different places. And squeaky.
We need to move that over just a little bit.
Which way?
Like aimed right at you. Yeah, you can pull that over. It'll extend out. Podcast.
This is so uncomfortable.
Is it?
I feel weird.
You look uncomfortable.
I feel uncomfortable.
I mean, we're good.
I feel like I never want something this close to my face with this mustache at the same time. I'm going to rethink my facial hair choices next time.
There you go. So,
Where were we?
we're talking about how, the interaction between...
Yeah.
Now, we live in a really interesting time because there has been a tremendous amount of effort and information put on social media, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, etc. All these platforms where the common public can observe life on a farm.
Yeah,
There's YouTube
absolutely.
channels of the Welkers, Millennial Farmer, Larson Farms, Ivers Farms, all these farming operations where people can actually get on and follow the day-to-day life of farms, agriculture, issues, problems we face, so on and so forth. But that doesn't reach everyone. Not that we reach everyone, we reach a very small demographic. But I wanted to do something where we did one with Joe Heathman, how do you connect with your seed dealer, everything your seed dealer wish you knew. Did one with one of my landowners. Hey, how can you improve the relationship you have between you and your landowner?
Right.
And then, hey, let's talk to someone who is more coming from the general public side into agriculture. What are some things that the common that I don't want to say the common, you are very uncommon.
Thank you.
But represent the common, the common folk.
Well, it's like a super novice approach, like an outsider's approach, right?
Yeah.
Like, so you're talking about, everything through social media. What I think the vast majority of people see is not something on a larger scale. They're seeing a very, very romanticized version of like homesteading or homesteading adjacent stuff, which is really cool and excellent. But I don't think you don't get to, it's not that it doesn't paint maybe a clear picture of larger scale agriculture, but it doesn't even present it as being what you can learn about. You're seeing like, very small scale things. And it's like, well, that's hyper manageable. I can do that in my backyard. I built a greenhouse and a chicken pen in my backyard because it's like, I can totally handle that. Now managing of hundreds or thousands of acres, on the other hand, for me personally, at least, you don't see what goes into it. I grew up in Kansas, mostly in and out. So everybody knows, it's harvest season. The wheat's looking good. Corn's looking bad. Whatever.
Combines in the fields. Yeah.
Normal stuff. Just like, as a joke, I used to have a friend that was from California. And they came in and we talked about it's going to get some gnarly weather today. Like, how do you know? It's like, you can't smell it. And it's just things like from being from Kansas, you just kind of know.
You just feel it.
Yeah. And part of ag is like that, right? Like just being from here, you kind of know what's going on, but you don't know what goes into it and what's making those cogs turn. You can see them turning, but you don't know what's doing it. That's where I find this very interesting to really learn what's happening, So I mean, you guys have been a wealth of knowledge thus far, and just trying to see how things cook from here.
Well, I thought it'd be something where, our demographic can use this as a tool to send to someone that may be asking questions. Because I have landowners that are like, "What are you spraying on my field?"
Right.
And it's like, "Well, this is what I'm spraying." And they're like, one of the things is like, "Are you spraying glyphosate?" Yes, but here's our trajectory of how to reduce or move away from. How can we? Because Ben and I talked about this a long time ago. I don't know a single farmer that enjoys spraying chemicals.
Sure.
Like, one, it's expensive.
Right.
Two, it's not fun.
Right.
And three, it's just there's something deep inside you, if you care and if you actually think about it, it's like, is this right?
Yeah. I mean, that seems to make sense, right? I mean, even from, I'm an outdoors guy, hunting, fishing, things like that. It's when you're doing things a certain way, it's the idea of, maybe it'll offend some demographic. I hate canned hunts. I don't like high fence hunting. I think it's terrible. And watching how that does, I understand there's a reason, and there's people that run businesses behind it and things like that. Me personally, it doesn't jive with me, but I still understand the reasoning behind it, right?
Sure.
So something with like this, same thing. Like you look, it's like, man, I wish things weren't sprayed. However, what I'm being able to learn from you guys, which has been great, it's number one, don't throw away perfection. Don't throw away improvement in seeking perfection.
Sure.
Then understand there's time frames and there's ways to do this that benefit both the end user, me, and the ground, and the people producing it, the ones that have to make a living doing it. Because if you guys, the mid-sized farm, I don't even know if I'm saying that right, but something outside of giant ag and tiny person at a farmer's market, to make that viable long term, there has to be some concessions there, and it's finding the things that are best.
Sure.
I'm even finding and talking to most of the guys, it's people think, it's like, well, looking for the least evil. It's not that. It's not even that. They're just looking for what's best and what can fit ways. It's not like sacrificing things that they know are bad.
If we shifted. And I can't speak for every farmer, but I can speak for most farmers. If we could wave a magic wand and never have to spray herbicide ever again, and it cost us $20 an acre, but we didn't, if there was even a cost to it, we'd be willing to be with it if we didn't have to fight weeds.
Yeah.
And so, and guys are like, why don't you go organic? Well, the road to organic is it's not dude, it is a process.
Sure.
It is a lot of work. A lot of risk. It's not easy, and we have organic guys in our team, and they'll tell you like, man, it is a tremendous amount of work. Yes, they get a premium for that grain or that produce, but every time there's a premium, it does not come without extra work.
There's
a reason there's a premium.
It comes at a higher cost because it's a higher cost to produce. It's not like it's just a magical, well, they just get to make extra money on that. That's not what that is, and I would hope that the general public understands that. I think in a large part they do, right? You start seeing from an education standpoint, it's like, okay, taking it all the way back in food systems. So you start from the grocery store shelf. And if I look at something like, I'm willing to pay an extra 20% because this says it's organic, whatever.
Certified organic.
Right. Yeah. How much accuracy is on those labels is debatable, but to look at that, it's like, okay, how can we take that base decision-making process and run it all the way back down the line and see what that actually entails? Then do more people start seeking that? We live in a supply and demand world, right? So the higher demand you get for organics, you're going to try to raise the supply for it, and it's more incentive. So I think for me, I think it's really harsh, especially people are they're hypercritical about spraying, for example. Sure. But on the same hand, they'll go to the store and gripe about the higher prices to buy something that's not sprayed upon. Correct. It's like, you can't do that. if you're going to do that, then you have to be willing to incentivize the growers, the ones actually doing the work, actually putting the time, the effort, and their money, and experiencing all the risk. You have to be able to support them with higher prices. You can't just say, well, you should do it this way. It's like, great, it's going to cost you an extra 25%. And they're like, whoa.
Yeah.
You know, and there's a disconnect there. I think the more the education can disseminate down from grocery store shelf to starting back to seeing what life is like on a farm, right? And let people start to romanticize that. Like, yeah, it's cool to the chicken lady in the backyard, right? And 100% t-shirts and stuff like that, you know? Sure. I was like, well, okay, how about the 1,500 acre club? Like, look at the work that you guys are doing in this and romanticize that.
If all of the average size farms, and it's a very tough thing to say average because it's, you know, I'd say full-time farmers, you know, whether that's 500 acres to 2,000 acres. There's a lot of our customer base, a lot of our people, guys I know, they're in that range. Now, that is not to negate a 200-acre farm.
Sure.
It's just where you at in the growth of your operation. Maybe you don't want to be bigger than that.
Yeah.
You know, I'm actually at a point where I'm downsizing my operation just a little bit so that I can be more attentive in other areas that I know I'm lacking in.
Sure.
But, I mean, the United States is still largely farmed by, you know, the family farm.
Yeah.
Majority, actually.
Yeah.
And so if you took all those farms today and said tomorrow you are shifting to 100% organic, the world would starve.
Yeah.
It would literally starve.
It would collapse.
Because we could not shift fast enough and efficiently enough to keep the supply chain moving.
Right.
And so, you know, are there a lot of people that are looking for better alternatives to raising food? There's cover crops being done. You know, there's improved soil health. There's things that we're doing that are seeing, you know, decreased negative applications on soil, improved fruit quality, you know, better, you know, higher protein in wheat, higher, you know, longer shelf life of tomatoes, things of that nature in a more natural stance.
Right.
You know, and you know, the word tree hugger gets thrown around, or, you know, greenie or whatever it might be, but you start looking at the science behind food and food quality, and it's absolutely fascinating. Yeah. I wish farmers would really start diving into the science behind the growth. I mean, the row crop farmers will have a ton to learn from the vegetable farmers. I listen to some vegetable production podcasts.
Yeah.
Dude, those guys are so in tuned to what makes a peach or a tomato, you know, things of that nature. And it's like just improving one nutrient can raise the shelf life of that fruit by 5 days.
Are you familiar with the crops of Three Sisters crops? You know what I'm talking about?
I'm not.
So like East Coast U.S., Iroquois, Cherokee, right? They have the Three Sisters, and it's corn, it's squash, and it's beans. And they would plant them at the same time, and they would do corn surrounded by beans with squash interspersed between them, right? With the pumpkins, whatever, you know, squash, loose term.
Like a multi-species.
Yeah. Because of the benefits from one to the other and what they did for one another. So, you know, technology changes, things change. It's not a perfect world. You're not going to go farm thousands of acres of corn, beans, and squash all intermixed in the same. There's zero efficiency there, right? We're not a hunter-gatherer society, weirdly enough, you know. So, but what can you take from that? And this is what I think I see, please correct me, is like doing these natural products using the humics and the fulvics and things like that to start mimicking those same types of soil beneficial relationships within the soil biome itself.
Yeah.
That you would get by doing something naturally that's completely inefficient and non-viable from any type of a commercial standpoint. But how do you mimic those same soil traits with natural additives or, you know, things like that? So those are the cool things that I'm excited to continue to learn about and see how it goes. You know? Yeah.
Well, and the whole, there's a big homesteading movement right now, very big. And dude, I think it's super cool. I really do. I think people should be less reliant on, let's just say grocery stores.
Sure.
Now listen, if there's a grocery store owner listening to this, you play a vital role in society, and please don't close your doors.
Please, yeah.
But I think there's so much disconnect out there between people's relationship between them and their food.
Yeah.
Like, how many people, if I just walked into town and I held this up and said, tell me the entire growing process of this from start to finish, with rough numbers.
Open the freezer door, open plastic, put in boiling water.
That's exactly right. Where did this come from?
Right.
What kind of plant does this grow on?
Right.
People just, they don't know.
Yeah.
And
I think, like you said, with the proliferation, with social media, there's all kinds of fun negative things that happen there, including in like some misinformation and scary stuff about ag in general,
yes.
right? Tons of that fun
Lawsuits.
stuff, yeah. But it's that is a cool thing to see people's relationship being gained. Everything in this world revolves around different relationships. It's your relationships with your family, with your God, with your community, with anything. So it's like, well, why do you have to only do that with other folks? It's like, okay, here's my relationship with my ground. People goof around. I go wearing barefoot all the time, right? Being a hippie.
we talk about grounding.
I know, I love going grounding, but
airing up a wall.
it's fun. So I coach all my kids in baseball, and I coach barefoot. I do not wear shoes on the baseball field and get a lot of odd looks, and it's fun like that. Number one, I keep my flip-flops in the dugout to throw at players that are getting out of line. Right. And number two, it just feels good, man, and I feel connected. I feel, I don't know, like I'm plugged into a charger, if that's a weird way of saying it, but it's stuff like that is I'm living in a relationship with the world around me.
Yeah.
Trying to take it in as much as possible. To not just take it in visually. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, and again, the tree hugger stuff, people make fun of being kind of hippie. It's like, go take a nap on the side of a hill and just immerse yourself in that sound and that feeling and that, make it tactile,
Sure.
and have a relationship with it. It changes things. It changes, change my outlook. Let's
Sure.
put it that way.
So it's really interesting you say that. So I would consider myself someone that's very associated with the land, like pretty closely connected to it.
Yeah. Yesterday
I was driving my Ranger through my prairie hay meadow up here, and the wildflowers are going nuts right now. And someone told me the other day, they said, man, I don't see the insects like I used to. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, okay, are there fewer insects, or are we just not taking time to observe the insects? Yeah. So I stopped and I turned my Ranger off and I just sat there and looked at the ground. There was bugs freaking everywhere.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that we shouldn't, I'm pro all pollinator plans and
sure.
CRP programs. I am all for that, because this is where I get all greedy. We take so freaking much from this world, and we get so mad from raccoons. They can just die. But, it's like we plant all the road ditches, the borders, we tear everything out and we plant it, and then we get mad when any wildlife eats any part of it. But yet then we want to deer hunt. We like to see the deer and everything else. We get mad when they eat our plants. Well, you took everything of theirs and left nothing. Yeah. And so I get pretty wound up about that. There are guys that are just like, farm it all, take it all. Well, okay, I'm sorry.
Every creeping thing that creepeth.
Yeah,
that mantra. It's a relationship.
It is.
I think it should be. I think it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
Without going way down rabbit holes, right? But it's I think, I don't know, you feel better. It's hard to describe on a overall status. You feel better.
Sure. Well, we're both outdoorsmen.
Yeah.
I mean, an outdoorsman is an outdoorsman and a farmer, or gardener, however it might be. That's about as closely associated with, this round ball flying through space that we think is completely safe.
Right.
What
do you say? I heard you say it a bunch of times. Put your fingers in the dirt.
Yeah.
Put your hands in the dirt.
Yeah.
Just feel what you're walking around on. What you came from. Like it's just.
I have tried to, and sometimes it feels completely inconvenient. But if we have people over at our home, which we have people over all the time, that's not the inconvenient part. What feels inconvenient is taking them to a field and walking them through a field and showing them a crop. So I've tried to do that, and then you're sitting there like, okay, these people don't know anything. They don't even know what kind of plant this is. I don't want to take the time. Anyway, so what I've tried to do is I've tried to dedicate time where If we have someone over, I take 1 or 2 people, not 30, and we go out to this field and I show them.
Mm-hmm.
And we take a shovel and we dig. Here's worms. Here's roots. This is how, this is this plant. It's at this growth stage. What are we doing? What have I put on this crop? What does this crop require?
Right.
Yeah. How am I observing my relationship between plant and soil? What is soil doing? What is plant doing? And showing that, we're this unique, instigator of life is really what it boils down to.
It's really cool. And that's what I wish, I guess, I hope for more people to see is not to think like, well, if you're not growing at your own house, it's not worth doing. It's like, no. There is a large group of dudes. And yeah, they might spray some, gnarly-ish stuff every now and again because like you said, what does it require?
Sure.
It's not about what I want to do sometimes. It's about what's required to be done.
Yeah.
The hard things have to be done sometimes. Can you find trails like you described earlier and walk away from those and work away from those? Maybe, yeah. Sure. But you can't just stop.
Sure.
Things are what they are. To reminisce about what things used to be is great and it's fun, but it's not what they are.
Yeah.
And you have to accept that. And it's like, okay, how can we, like you said, take someone out, show them like this is not just planting something in to pull it out. This is a stewardship. This is a relationship with my fields. Every one of those fields. Going on a guess here, you tell me if I'm wrong. There's probably intricacies about every one of your different fields because it's not like, again, for people to know, there is not these giant rectangle swaths that's just like, this is my ground. It's nuanced and it's broken in cases like that. You probably know different cool things about each one of those fields.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, absolutely. Well, in my opinion, that's one of the greatest joys of owning land is, let's just take the 107, for example, farm that I own. There may or may not have been an Indian campsite on one spot of this farm. Cannot confirm or deny for archaeological excavation land to, take over purposes.
Right.
By the federal government. Anyway, but... and then I know it's like, okay, and then there's this oak tree over here and it's super cool and it always produces acorns every single year. And it's very odd for this, and we got this boulder at the top of this hill line. It's super cool. It's got, may or may not have this thing in the side of it. Yeah. And yeah, and then in regards to soil, it's like, this is a really good area and this over here drains, Heathman's so good at that. So he can tell you, it's like, well, this little spot, and he can tell you the years that it happened and this and that and the crop and this and that. It's super cool.
Because you guys have what? You have relationships with your fields. It's the same thing. It's like a buddy.
Right.
It's they become an old friend, right?
They do.
Like, some people have cars,
well, you're relying
guns, or hunting spots, or whatever.
You rely on it.
It's like an old buddy, you know. And if they get torn up and they get mismanaged, you start taking it personally a little bit, right?
Oh, yeah.
So
it hurts.
It
hurts.
So it's that relationship with everything, something I can't just pop into my head, but it's like, everything all at once or something like that, where you're trying to take in the world around you and understanding all these different things and how they interact with one another, and to take time to appreciate the interactions that the people you're having those things with have their own, and they're nuanced and their own things. And I don't know, borderline trying to hopefully assume the best of folks, and they're trying to take care of their stuff.
Sure.
If you drive, it's no different. You drive by somebody's house and they don't take care of it, you're going to know pretty quick.
Oh yeah.
And again, not being a farmer, not growing up on farms, besides going out and hunting them and fishing and things like that, you can tell real quick if someone doesn't take care of their stuff. It looks gnarly.
Sure.
Right. So it's, I don't know, to get more of the general public, especially the people that don't live here and don't just intuitively know what things are like. They don't intuitively know thunderstorms coming. Right. They don't intuitively know about time for harvest. How do you take those folks through social media and get them to really, become invested, to start seeing it as something that they should care about and not just be mad about all the time.
Mm-hmm. One thing that gets me is when people get mad about farm machinery driving down the side of the highway. Oh, dude, a number of times I get flipped off for driving on the shoulder of the highway, flashers on and everything. It's just like people drive by and they're just...
part of the system.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, well, you know what? I'll tell you what. You disassociate yourself from my life.
Right.
And you live yours. That means you can't eat. You know?
Yeah.
And you know what? I'll disassociate myself from you. Whatever it is you're doing, I'm willing to take that risk.
Yeah.
Because it's not food.
It's like, well, we need to make some bumper stickers to put in the back of tractors. Be like, before you honk, ask yourself if you enjoyed the sandwich you just had on the piece of bread you just ate. You know, like,
right?
Before you start honking.
Yeah.
That's not, doesn't just magically appear. You know, it's got to come from somewhere. You know, yeah, that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
We get to work on that. Bumper sticker.
Branding, marketing, connecting to our marketplace people thing.
Or just change it. Honk if you like bread.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. People lay on the horn.
Then everybody that honks, you're like, all right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's kind of like honk. It's like the bumper sticker that says honk if you think I'm hot, and the guy just sits at the green light.
Yeah, just happy as all get out.
I feel so good about myself.
We just changed the lives of thousands.
That's exactly
This just happened right here.
Buy bread, honk if I'm hot. Podcast title. Honk if you think I'm hot. Yes.
Oh my God.
Okay. What? Where should we take this from here?
I don't know. It's pretty cool. Teach me something neat. And somewhat specific.
Okay. Let's see. I'm trying to think. I don't like cattle, so that's pretty specific.
Rollback hunting, because we both can talk about that, right? So the relationship between game animals and ag, because it's a weird one. Right?
It is a very, very strange dynamic because we have a lot of guys in our network that love the outdoors.
Yeah.
And you know, and there's actually, Mason has talked about this. There is programs available out there that will pay you to leave standing crops for wildlife.
Oh yeah. And
you know, and it's not, I wish it was more, I don't know, farmers are like, hey, I'm here, it's convenient, may as well just cut it type deal.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's
Weehaw, right? In Kansas.
well, there's weehaw, there's walk-in hunting, and then you know, there's I swear there has been, okay, I know what I can talk about. There has been a very, very slick wedge driven between the producer and the end user because there is so much margin to be made between there.
In the middle.
If you can, if guy in the middle can convince Schneider that everything Josh Pretzer is doing is trying to hurt him, it puts you against me.
Yeah.
Then you're mad at me, and I'm a farmer, and I feel, and I, you know, we're not always looking for a fight, but we're very protective about what we do because we're very ingrained in what we do. So it's
Right.
like, okay, screw you. It's kind of like driving by. Man, screw you. Yeah, screw you more. You know, and so, and then, but at the same time, I'm going to use you for example. I'm not saying well, all this is true. You don't know where your meal comes from. Let's just say you represent a lot of the large population.
Yeah.
You know, so you're going to still go and you're going to buy food because you're hungry.
You got to eat.
You're going to eat.
Yeah.
Who's going to produce that? I am.
Right.
So if you and I aren't talking about this relationship between my job and your
Belly.
that's right. You know, if you and I communicate about that, that creates a very unique, I know, a bond. It really is a bond. It's like if you're an auto mechanic and I don't know anything about my car and I come to you and you sit down and you say, hey, this is what's wrong with your car. And while I was here, I saw this issue. I think we should address it because it's going to be a problem in the future. I don't know. There's a lot of farm direct food popping up right now. A lot, you know, whereas I'm like, hey, Schneider, I'm doing this. And you're like, hey, I'm interested in buying a half a beef from you. Do you?
Yeah.
You know, okay, well, that is a middleman cut out.
Right.
And so on and so forth. And that is a growing market.
It's a growing market that's getting more and more illegal, you know.
I know, right? More laws hammered down.
Wonder why
on
that's
it.
happening.
That's exactly right. But there is, so I don't know, there is a very unique wedge driven between the consumer and the producer right now. And that is that way in so many markets because the misinformation is used as a profit for the person in the middle who sees and knows both sides.
Right.
And anyway, let's see, it was wildlife, and then it was that. I don't remember where I was going with that, and that stinks. I think I got most of it in, but yeah, it's just the disassociation between, everyone here and. Guys, we just wanted to stop for just a second and let you know that we're looking to expand our team, building our group of distributors across the United States. If you are passionate about soil, helping people, farming,
learning,
yeah, absolutely. You can reach out.
Info at singularags.com. Agros.
Singular Agros.
Agros, correct.
Info at singularagros.com.
Yeah.
Anyway, so will there be a link in the description? You can do that.
Yeah.
Techie. Catch you guys
He's
later.
a knowledge guy.
Yeah.
Catch you later.
To have the general public have more relationship with their farmer than just going to take their family photos in the sunflower field,
right.
Spend some more time out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. Well, and so that's where it was. It was the public's respect for the relationship of the farmer to their land.
Mm-hmm.
That is where I was going with that. Thank you. Your blank stare actually helped. It's because, dude, I'm not kidding. This happened to me. I was out in my field and I heard a bunch of voices. And I okay, get my truck and drive over there. There's people out in my field. They'd driven their car around part of my field and they were taking pictures out there.
Yeah. And
I'm like, what are you guys doing? We're taking pictures. Did you ask permission? Well, no. And I'm like, and I'm not saying everyone's like this, but it's amazing how many people think that they are entitled. It's like, you have all this land. I can just take pictures here. It's like a mutual respect.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, if I come in and I lay down on your couch at 6:00 tonight, are you cool with that?
Depends on what you look like.
Yeah. Yeah, or can you cook?
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah. And so it's like, and I see this more and more and more as there's this wedge driven between people, the landowner, the farmer, and it's like, and I don't know, I wish people would ask permission more. And permission's a weird thing. There's been, people will say hunting. People will say, man, it's really hard for me to find anywhere to hunt anymore.
Yeah.
Because so much private land has been abused by people taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And it's a limited natural resource that people are not, that when you don't own it, when you don't work for it, when you're not tied, when you have a flood and it tears things up and you lose a crop, or you have to go in and you fix things, you are tied to that physically. And when you see something disrespected, you feel disrespected.
It's the relationship thing, right?
Yeah.
It's like somebody went in and tore up your buddy.
Yeah.
And you I think, back like the general public standpoint, right? It's not that I think this, to be clear, but it's like, the farmers, they're the enemy. Like, oh, why does this smells like ammonia?
They're trying to kill me.
Yeah, this is bad. They're just trying to make money. They don't care what they do. They don't do all that. It's not the case.
Right.
And so farmers, not you, but again, it's like generalities.
Yeah.
Here. So you've got this farmers be like,
You and I are the sacrificial lambs in this
we
conversation.
are. Yeah, that's fun. Yeah. Assholes.
Yeah, I know.
But so you've got farmers are like, well, they don't know what I do. They don't care how hard I work. And look, they just going to drive on my land and take pictures.
Yeah.
Then you find opportunities. And it's like, okay, you drove my land to take pictures. And it's like, what are you doing? And they say, like, well, we're here to take pictures. Like, did you ask permission to be there? Like, no. It's like, look, don't do that again. But since you're here, you're stuck with me for a minute.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this for a sec. And it's like, this piece of ground I've spent the last 20 years tending. It's my friend.
Yeah.
And it provides food for not only my family, but maybe for you and your family.
Yeah.
When you come running your tire tracks on it, you're stepping on something that you have no idea what goes into.
Yeah.
If you ever want to learn about it, let's have a talk. I'll be in the picture with you.
Just tell them they smashed earthworms.
Right.
Everyone feels bad about that for some reason. I don't know a soul on earth that doesn't feel respect for an earthworm.
And on the same hand,
Blows my mind. Of all things, a worm.
I respect them greatly for their ability to fill my freezer with catfish.
Dude,
But
them suckers can poop like no other. It's
crazy.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It is incredible. They eat weird things and they poop good things. What a beautiful circle of life.
it's amazing. Yeah.
It is.
like
It's
it was-
honestly inspiring.
It's like it was planned or something.
right.
So like where were we? Oh, the picture people, right? So like
Yeah.
you tell the picture people like, hey,
Just freaking picture people.
you could tell them to get out. You could
Oh, right. As a guy, as we're sitting here with a guy that who set all these cameras up.
Oh.
Those freaking
family picture people, not well.
yeah.
Professional if it's a professional photographer, they can just,
Oh,
those guys are the worst.
wildlife photographers.
I always ask permission.
His face is turning red.
I know.
Is
He's
it because
over
it's
here
hot in
like-
here? Or he's
That's
like,
right.
sons of bitches.
If he comes over here and beats us up, he's going to have to edit it out, and that's more work, and it's not worth it.
But okay. Focus. So picture guys, they come in, and if they had an idea that was your buddy and that was a piece of dirt that provides food for potentially thousands of people, not to mention the work you put into it, so it can provide food for your family, and the livelihood that is, right? And it just changes the dynamics of everything.
It does.
And again, however that happened or how long that happened, and who knows, and you can't change what's been done. It's done. And you can just try to move forward the best you can,
That's why I want to get better at this whole project that we're working on, is telling the story.
Yeah.
Telling the story of, there's the whole organics. There's a whole story to tell on, say, organic side, but there's a whole story to tell on just the family farm side.
Yeah.
And the family farm is something that is not, that thing is so overlooked so many times. I'm really passionate about sharing that story with people.
Yeah.
Because it is land. They say land cannot survive 3 generations. It can't. The first one earns it. The second one maintains it, and the third one loses it.
Here's a legitimate question.
Yeah.
So when a family farm, it does unfortunately collapse or whatever, right? Do those usually get bought by another family farm, or do those get sacrificed to big ag, don't care, will spray whatever they want, could care less about what happens to the land, just want a bunch of money?
Right.
How does that slice up?
It's geographically driven. Like right here, there's no mega farm wants to come in and farm right here. It's not efficient in regards to building a big thing.
Yeah.
That's out west where Ben's at, or in Iowa, or, anywhere. You drive through here, you'll see.
Yeah.
Okay, now ranching, that's a different thing. There's a specific church that has bought up thousands and thousands of acres right here. I'm not going to say which ones they are. It starts with an M, but anyway, yeah.
The Mormons.
I didn't say it. Did I? I didn't say it. It does rhyme with Cormans.
It's okay. Got to feed all those wives, bud. He's editing.
I don't know what to say. Where was I?
Here's your T-bone sister. That's not where you were.
I don't think it was.
We were talking about big ag buying up when family farms go under.
Yeah, we can talk about how Humit could raise better holy underwear.
Okay.
Yeah.
So where the question came from is...
Yes. Oh,
right.
I didn't answer your question.
You didn't? No.
So in the 80s, the 80s was the last time that I remember farms actually going, I wasn't alive, but in history, what I hear spoken of in the 80s, interest was high, farms were lost, bankruptcies were filed. There's a Homesteaders Act that you're allowed to keep your home in 80 acres. I don't know all of the legal details of that, but it is a thing. So, but in general, land was forced to sell, and honestly, I think that's where a lot of absentee landowners came into play.
Yeah.
Someone that maybe was raised in the area, like a lot of my landowners were raised in the area, went off to a lands unknown, and were very successful. Not all. Some people were, made money, and they came back home and they bought land.
Yeah.
And a lot of my landowners, they're older, people, but they still have a very close connection to the land, even though they don't live here. They were raised here.
Right.
And once you're raised, if you're raised on land, I'm convinced, I don't think you can lose that connection to land.
Yeah.
Because you ask them about selling it, they're like, I'm not going to sell it. Why would I sell
Yeah.
it? It's been in my family for 50 years.
I find that so interesting. So I've moved like 42 times. Not the exact number. It's not an exaggeration, right?
Whoa.
But never on land. It was just houses.
Yeah.
And it's such a different thing. So I'm like city people, city folk, whatever farmers terminology used for the city dwellers, right?
You guys.
Nice.
The errands of the world.
Right. So having that deep connection to a place, you know, beyond like, this is my home, like landscapes more become what my connection tends to be, and not just like, you know, a house or a piece of dirt, a specific piece of land, you know, but you know, so back to the thing, like if someone was to lose that, not only the family implications that would follow that are just tragic, but it's, I think, in those cases, like, so say it is Western Kansas, right? And you have a family farm, and the family farm is doing everything they can, and they're like forced, like, you go organic, you have to go organic right now, right? Then they lose the farm because it's not financially viable to do it like a light switch, like you talked about earlier, right? And then a big company comes in that doesn't care at all. They're going to dump whatever they want on it and get yield however they want out of it, and not care a rip about what happens to the dirt. That's a loss, right? That's a bad thing. It's bad for families. It's bad for production. It's bad for everything.
Yeah.
Bad for the ground. So as opposed to, again, from a consumer standpoint, like an outside looking in, to understand like any sense of doing better is good. Like anything other than, you know, what is it? It's like scalp and burn or whatever. You know, just like terrible extraction of everything out of the land. That's better than the alternative. And the more you can work towards better, whether it be perfect or not, it doesn't have to be perfect. It's still a much better option. And I would hope people would kind of grasp, you know, I want to grasp that better.
Yeah.
I'm still working on that.
Sure.
I'm being honest, you know, like to understand that better is just that. Like it is better. Like don't toss it. Don't get rid of it. Don't, you know, understand that this is a plight that families, real people are going through.
Sure.
It's not like the farmer. It's not like some dude on a poster with a pitchfork in one hand and a giant bottle of poison in the other hand that doesn't give a care what you're putting in your body. That's just like, I'm going to make my money. That's not what it is. And that's, you know, I've learned that much more already in the last few months. I never really thought it was like that, but you know, like getting a better idea of that and learning.
Well, you're seeing it lived out.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're seeing it lived out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, like I can read Silent Spring and just get pissed off,
Right.
or I could actually just try to learn about things.
Yeah.
You know, and understand that this is so nuanced.
Well, so many people have lost, this is not just ag-related, so many people have lost the ability for, to actually learn in an appropriate manner with how to reactive response. We'll read something. Now, granted, society has conditioned us to be headline readers. You know, so-and-so walked into school and shot these many people. You get mad about it.
Yeah.
You know, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
But, this night, found this poison in the river, this and that. And someone, they could blame, say, it happened because of a, hog farm upstream. And the average reader is going to read that and subconsciously be like, okay, well, farmers are poisoning the water.
Right.
It may not even be true.
Right.
It may not even be true. We live in such a day where truth is not a desired commodity anymore. And so, if people were slow to listen, or slow to speak, quick to listen. My mom told me that growing up all the time. You need to be slow to speak and quick to listen.
Yeah.
2 ears, one mouth, 2 eyes, same thing. And
I think too, like something to point out, like we sound kind of judgmental right now, you and I, but like I know I really feel like this is like meant with the best possible intentions, and it's like not to admit this is hard.
Yeah.
Like to be able to slow down and step back is really hard.
Oh,
no one's perfect at it. Sure. There's times where guys driving in your field, you're just like, a-holes. They just drove on my field without a care of why. Same thing, looking at things and actions that are happening and, seeing seeing like a label, a certain label on a jug that's about ready to go out into an ag field and just be like, why are they doing that? Without even taking a second to understand that that same label goes on the back of a bottle of vodka.
Oh yeah. Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just
load up.
taking a sec, taking a
Sure.
sec. And but it's hard. It's hard. All you can do is we can do our best, and try to do what we can. I'm
Farmer needs to be more patient.
So does the consumer. Everyone does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can speak from the farmer side of I need to do a better job of, because we live in this little bubble of I do my thing, the world does its thing. I mean, in the last year, me being involved in our business and working with guys, I mean, it's been like drinking through a fire hose, realizing how disassociated I was from how the world of actual business works. Farming is a business, but there's a whole world out there.
It's very unique
of like how things actually work, and people work under these models and this and that. And there's rules and SOPs and all these things. And I'm like, and it's really, I struggled with getting really upset early on. I'm like, listen, I've done it. I have managed and built this farm and it's been successful. I've done it my way. And then I sit there and I think, oh, okay, I really could improve in this way because, I don't know. We live in our own little bubbles. We do. It's like, I'm going to go plant, I'm going to go spray, I'm going to go combine, and I'm going to go, I'm going to go to the lake this weekend with the family and this and that. And the whole world's going on and I'm doing my thing.
Yeah.
And it's just like people, it's so easy to just slough a question off, hey, how's crops look? It looks fine.
Yeah. It's wild, dude. Talking about the business stand. So I'm new to ag, absolutely not new to business. Been doing this for a long time. Right?
You and I are
exactly swapped, which makes it so much fun.
It does.
But there's things. The amount of respect that I've gained from the business management's perspective of a farm owner is crazy. It's I always thought of farmers as like, okay, this is a very hardworking class of people. The end. Like. This is a very hardworking, extremely flexible, extremely versatile, and unbelievably adaptable business person.
Yeah.
I just didn't, it wasn't on purpose or anything. I just didn't. And now you see that, I used to make statements, you get asked by like, a higher up or something. It's like, what's going on with these forecasts? And you say, it's like, well, I can't project, the consumer's needs more than I can project the weather. Well, you guys literally have to forecast for the literal weather.
Right.
That's really hard. It's like really, really hard,
Yeah.
And, the nuance, it's not just weather, it's market conditions and things like that, you guys are in tune to some of those things to help forecast those, but there's so many moving parts within the business of farm ownership that it's extremely unique, and tip of the hat to everybody that's managing this as well as they do.
Well, farmers have to wear so many hats. You have a business hat, you have a mechanic's hat, an electrician hat,
right?
An agronomy hat, a construction hat, and so on and so. A weatherman's hat.
Yeah.
And and so I don't know. That's why it's been so vital to grow and build and connect with people who are an asset to you in regards to your to the world of business agriculture, because there's people out there that so and so is Johnny's really good at this, and Gibbs is really good at this, and the list goes on. It's like everyone that I meet is really good at something in their own field, and it's like rarely am I am I skilled in the same area as that person, and never have I found myself to be equally skilled.
Yeah.
And so everyone, especially, this is in life, everyone has something to teach, but in agriculture, everyone has something to teach. Yeah. And it may not be something that they know how to do. They may know something, hey, I did this and it didn't work. Yeah. Let me tell you my story about it.
Dude, that's the essence. I sent you a silly thing the other day. We love Instagram, right? But like this silly thing the other day, it's not silly, it's actually awesome, but it's just a reel, and it's, there's a broken thought that business is built on hard work and determination, and then everything stems from there. It is one person putting their nose to the grindstone and that's how you build a business. Nope. You build a business by building a team of people that can be relied upon and bring in their own experiences and knowledge, because you're literally compiling lifetimes of experience in one room or in one meeting or one Google Meet or whatever you say. Right. You build the team first, then build your success from that. Enjoy in one another's successes.
Sure.
Have sorrow in one another's failures, and build one another up and learn from all those experiences as a collective.
Sure.
The more that can happen, the stronger things will be. I see a lot of that in this, more so than I've ever seen in any other business. And I've been in a bunch, and I've never seen that type of willingness and hunger to be a collective force. Sure. And I think it's going to be great.
Oh, it's been so much fun to watch so far. If farmers would quit worrying so much about what the neighbor might do and just focus on what they're good at, they themselves are good at doing, it would be such an improved quality of life.
Just talk to the neighbor.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what the neighbor...
sit here and be like, well, that guy...
It's like, build the team.
Just
what are we doing?
Walk over there.
What are we doing together?
You never know. Worst case scenario, he's mad at you, you don't get along, and you go about your ways. Yeah. But you miss 100% of the shots you never take. Right. And so it's like, man, if you can just quit worrying about... Because I look at this in an area around here. Guy came in, started farming. Everyone else around was very offstandish, felt very encroached upon. It's funny, they felt very encroached upon on ground they never had a chance to pick up, ever. Never would have happened in a million years. But yet they feel like they were cheated out of something. Wait a minute. Anyway, and I just kind of extended the white flag. I'm like, hey, nice to have you. If you ever need anything, let me know. Let's talk to each other about when we're going to spray. That way I don't hurt your crop. You don't hurt mine. If you need anything, let me know. Yeah. Dude, it has become one of my closest friendships. It really has with that person. Yeah. And just the friend that I gained from, and you know what? If I extended that white flag and they're like, you know what, I'm going to do my thing, you do your thing. Yeah. What did I lose?
It's not all sunshines and kumbaya, dude.
Yeah, what did I lose?
But at least you try,
yeah.
Right?
Okay. Well, now I know what to expect of this person.
It's so crazy, the little stuff, like talking about coaching my kids in baseball, right? Like, so I'm in baseball, and it's just like teamwork. We all play rec league. It's not competitive. Like, it is what it is, right? We go out there, we have a ball, we want to win some games, it is what it is. You gripe with the ref every now and again, but it's just, hey, teamwork. You have to work together as a team. There are very, very few things in this life that you're going to pull off by yourself.
Oh, yeah.
And if you do,
who do you have to celebrate with?
It's miserable. Yeah,
who do you have to celebrate?
Misery.
Yay, me!
Yeah, it's just,
whoa.
Hold one another up when you need held up. If someone needs checked, then check them. Yeah. And just, try to do it together. And that's me. Is not like, I'm a pretty outgoing person. But at the end of the, I try to tend to be as self-reliant as possible too. So that's hard to break down sometimes.
Sure.
But man, it's super important.
I have a friend who about 4 years ago, he's an older guy, has more acquaintances than probably anyone I've ever met. And he was sitting down and I'm very thankful to have a very, very close relationship with this guy. And he was telling me, he's like, I realized the other day, he's like, I have a lot of acquaintances and I don't have a lot of friends. Mm-hmm. I think it's time to cull the herd. He's like, I've been spending too much time in the wrong places. Yeah. And I don't know. It's completely just.
No, I don't know. Put it back to business.
Yeah. It's like.
Not dissimilar.
Yeah. Well, you in the world of business, you find out who your biggest players are, your most effective players. Yeah. And honestly, what's the most rewarding is the people who are the most dedicated, like truly believe in what you're doing. And man, those are the funnest people to work with.
What we just do earlier, right? This was a funny thing to be in the room with, but we'll bring everyone in. So I asked you guys, said I'm learning about this. What word would you use to describe like farm owners in general, right? And Ben said loyal, and I made fun of Ben because I said it was a Miss America answer, but it's He's not wrong.
No, it's
Mine, I said independent, it's just, that's really cool for them to see that. And it's like loyal. I would be loyal. So it's like, okay,
Yeah.
pick the ones that are actually loyal and do your thing and build a strong team. Again, there's nothing that can't be accomplished if you have a strong enough support system around you.
Sure.
Based on the information alone.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fun. It's cool to see. It is. I'm enjoying it.
It's fun to have you.
Oh, thanks.
It's fun to have you. I've learned a tremendous amount from you, and community network. That's what Ben's whole goal, and then it became mine. As I came into this whole deal, is just build a community and a network. Mm-hmm. And you build people's trust, and you yourself find trust in people.
Yeah.
And it's how relationships and business and life is supposed to be. Take agriculture out of the equation. Just how life is supposed to be lived.
No, it's super cool. You guys know, and for the general public to be aware of what got me in here, right, was an interest in learning this. But so I hadn't worked in a year. I took a year off work, and God bless my wife, and I was a kept man, and it was cool. And I was literally waiting and looking, and I was looking for something that I was passionate about. Mm-hmm. And I've been very passionate about food. I went to culinary school and I catered, I was very passionate about it. And for this to come along and me be a total outsider, complete outsider to this industry, every single person without exception has been incredibly welcoming. And, I appreciate it more than you guys know, not just the people in this room, but, the guys on the team and things like, man, everyone's been very cool, very nice. And any questions, Johnny, like I asked him some questions, I took a work trip and saw some interesting things. I don't get all the details of it, but I had questions about it and I called him and he's like, glad you asked. And he I'm in the middle of his day. Like I could hear him. He's like, flying a drone. What can I do for you? Yeah. And
Right.
But just explain things for me. That's so cool. Like, I hope that sticks, I hope that stays. And, I will probably never own a farm. It's just probably not in the cards for me. Right. I don't know what I would doing, but I appreciate very much being somewhat brought into the fold of at least being welcomed as an outsider. Sure. And learning things about it and people being cool and understanding and things
it helps us as a perspective of how can we, because it's very, you can get in get around a table with a group of farmers and sit and talk about, hydraulic oil pump flows on your tractors, and everyone's sitting here, it's this vibe. Everyone's just so fired up. My 64 gallon minute pump. Whoa. Yeah. What's your vacuum fan speed on your planters? Right. And then, and everyone else is like, what? So it's like, okay, maybe we need to be a little less, just, I don't know. We need to keep we need to be looking here, not here. Keep a,
it's a good way to put it.
A good scope. Yeah. Instead of just like really honed in. How can we bring this whole thing full circle? Yeah. Because we'll have people, and we already have people. Hey, I don't know anything about cover crops. Do you know anything about cover crops? Or guys, I don't know anything about running an in-furrow starter fertilizer program. I don't know where to start. Right. And the list goes on. And the connectivity is just a super powerful tool.
Yeah. No, I think it's great. It's the more people learn, at least the more I learn, the more interested I am. Some things are opposite of that. Yeah. This is not one of them. The more things I see, and even back to some of the things, being kind of from an uneducated standpoint of that seems wrong to me. Mm-hmm. Learning more reasons of how it's applied, how it's used, or how it's being walked away from in a systematic way. Sure. In order to make it an actual practical change. Yeah. Completely changed my perspective on a lot of things. It's very cool. Very cool. I hope it keeps being cool. That's all I ask.
I'm going to try.
Yeah.
So it sure stays entertaining.
Right. That's for sure.
All right. Well, thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.
Forward to
As Gibbs would say, farm on. Guys, like, subscribe, everything else. Appreciate you.
See you guys soon.
Send this to somebody that doesn't know much about the connection between agriculture, farm and the table.
So, yeah. Let's get a chef.
Yeah.
Dude. Yes.
All right. See you guys.